Snap-on versus Milwaukee, shop tool review style. How did they finish? You'll have to stick around to find out. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. Whenever you talk about mechanics tools, it's not uncommon to hear the word Snap-on. Let's face it, it's a brand that's been around for several decades now and has served that industry well. Now, at the same time, for the past, say, part of a decade, when you talk about cordless impact wrenches, it's not uncommon to hear about the M18 or Milwaukee's brushless impact wrenches. Also, when you start talking about impact wrenches, people want to know, how does the Milwaukee compare to the Snap-on? Well, now we're going to know. This is the newest rendition of Snap-on's impact wrenches. It's their brushless 3/8 drive 18-volt impact wrench. This is Milwaukee's 2960. This is also Milwaukee's 3/8 inch brushless 18-volt impact wrench. By the way, this is product number or model number CT-9010. So we're going to go head-to-head with these because you can actually see right off the bat, just kind of by the naked eye, that pretty close in size. We'll also go feature by feature, talk about those, and then we'll actually put them head-to-head, see how they finish, and we'll come back and wrap it up. Okay, let's go over some of the features of these two impact wrenches. First, we have the Snap-on CT-9010, 9010. It's their 3/8 anvil brushless impact wrench. This is the Milwaukee 2960. Again, it's their 3/8 brushless impact wrench. Both of them running 18-volt batteries, and in fact, both of them are running or are fitted with 5 amp-hour batteries as we see them here. They both have 3 speeds, pretty much. You can see the Snap-on indicator back here on the back. This is where the speeds are, and you can push this button here and change the speeds from 1 to 2 to 3. Milwaukee has 4 modes, but really only 3 speeds. So you get speed 1, 2, and 3, and then you get an auto mode as well. Now, as far as the speeds go, on speed 1, let me turn this back around. On speed 1, you're going to get from this Snap-on, you're going to get up to 870 RPMs. Now, you get a variable speed trigger, so you can see you can go about as slow as you want to, and up to that 870 RPMs. Now, on the Milwaukee on speed 1, you're going to get 1250 RPMs. And again, you're going to get a variable speed trigger on that as well. So again, we can make it crawl as slow as we want to. So both of these units have nice variable speed triggers on them, which most brushless tools do. Now in speed 2, when we step up on the CT-9010, into speed 2, there we go, into speed 2, then you get up to 1300 RPMs, and the Milwaukee in speed 2 is going to be 1950 RPMs. And then in speed 3, you're going to get 1760 out of the Snap-on, and the Milwaukee is going to have 2575 RPMs in speed 3, as well as in the auto mode as well. The max RPMs will be 2575. Now, as far as impacts per minute on the Snap-on, you're looking at 1740 in 1, 2600 in mode 2, and in mode 3, 3520 impacts per minute. And then on the Milwaukee, you're looking at 900 impacts per minute in low, 2100 in mode 2, and 3100 RPMs in mode 3. Now, fastening torque on these two, fastening torque on the Snap-on, they're saying is 240 foot-pounds, and fastening torque on the Milwaukee is supposed to be 450 foot-pounds. Loosening torque, you're looking at 325 foot-pounds on the Snap-on and 600 foot-pounds on the Milwaukee. Now, the half-inch version would have a 650, but the 3/8 version only has 600 foot-pounds of breakaway or nut busting or loosening torque, whatever you want to call that. As far as size on these units, you can see these things are quite similar. From height, you can see they're almost identical in height, and it's the same way in length, except I would say that the Snap-on sticks out about half an anvil further than the Milwaukee. But the bases pretty much line up. Even the rake and the handle is pretty much identical, but the Snap-on is just a touch longer, if you will, from tip to tail than the Milwaukee is. And then as far as the LED lights go, you get a tri-beam LED here on the front of the Milwaukee, and then the snap-on, you get a single cob, which is quite bright, but you just get a single cob LED light that is here below the anvil, where this one surrounds the anvil. Now, as far as ergonomics go, ergonomics, however you say that, with the E. Anyway, the handles on these, both rubber overmolded, fine on that. The snap-on is more of a blocky. In fact, it's almost as wide as it is, thick, fore and aft, if you will, which doesn't feel bad in the hand whatsoever. It does feel a little bit different than the Milwaukee, that's a little slender this way, but as far as front to back is a little bit thicker. So a different feel, but I would call neither one of them a bad comfort whatsoever. The controls are on the back side of the CT-9010, on the back of the snap-on, whereas on the Milwaukee, it's on the front. I will say this rubber button here on the Milwaukee is quite a bit easier than this blister button or whatever that's here on the back of the snap-on. You really got to push that. Now, maybe that will loosen up over time. I really don't know, but that's almost uncomfortable to push to actually change those speeds. But again, maybe there's a reason that they're here on the back. Maybe, that doesn't get in the way, but it is different. That's all. Then as far as the battery status, pretty much the same. You get 4 indicators for the fuel gauge to tell you how full the battery is, and we'll change that out here in a moment to a full battery. But you can easily see these. Again, the button on the Milwaukee is a little bit easier to push versus that little bitty blister button there on this one. Let's actually take these over. Let's use them. See how well they do. Okay, so we have the Snap-on CT-9010 and the Milwaukee 2960, both 3/8 inch brushless impact wrenches, both running 5 amp hour, 18 volt batteries. The Milwaukee fully charged, 4 lights. The Snap-on fully charged. Both of them just came off the charger. So we're going to run these head to head and see how they compare. Now, we have not even used the Snap-on CT-9010 yet, so this will be the first go right out of the box after at least just charging the battery. We've just gone over all the features. So now let's just dive in head first. Up first, what we're going to do, we're going to tighten each one of these 10 bolts nuts for 5 seconds each. So once the impact starts hitting, we're going to count to 5, run to the next one, next one, next one. So do all 10 for 5 seconds each, and then we'll come back with our torque wrench. We'll get a reading off of that to try to figure out what is the fastening torque. Now, they claim the fastening torque on the CT-9010 is 240 foot-pounds. We should be able to measure that. Our torque wrench goes to 250, and backing off 240 foot-pounds should not be 240 foot-pounds, should be quite a bit less than that. On the Milwaukee, their claim is that it's 450 foot-pounds. Now, our torque wrench definitely doesn't go that high. We should be able to tell that specifically later on if it does eclipse that 250-pound limit of our torque wrench. In a couple of weeks, we'll be able to circumvent that as well. But anyway, so the Milwaukee should go past the limits of our torque wrench if it does what it says it does. The Snap-on, if it does what it says it does, should be within the limits, so we should be able to record those. After we get done with that, we'll hit the loosening side as well to be able to see how much each one of them will loosen. We can take that up to 600 and test and verify that, so no problems there. So let's get started. We're going to start with the Snap-on. And by the way, we're running a 3/8 adapter to 1/2 inch, but it's welded onto the socket. So we've got a welded adapter there so that we're taking out of play any concerns about an adapter robbing power. But both tools are going to be running the same socket with the welded adapter on it. Let me put on some ear protection here. On forward, again, full battery, and here we go. Okay, we'll take our torque wrench here, our digital torque wrench, and we'll back these off and see what kind of values we get. 176.6. 184.8, 184.6, 154.9, 188.4, 2011, 178.8, 170.9, 166.2, 164.2. Now that's not our fastening value. We actually have to divide by a factor because we know it takes less force to break a nut free or break a fastener free than it does to tighten it. So we back out a factor, which is roughly 80%, and then that will raise that value. And we'll do that here when we conclude. Let's go to the Milwaukee. Hey, can I break in here real quick? Would you mind hitting that like and subscribe button, but only if you're liking this video so far? And by the way, if you don't like this video, if you just pure hate us, give us that thumbs down, but would you let us know in the comments why? Back to the video. Okay, so we'll switch over to the Milwaukee, take the same socket off, put it on the Milwaukee, fresh battery, in mode 3, again, ear protection. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see if we get any to break away here using our 250-pound torque wrench. Here we go. Maxed out. Maxed out. Maxed out. Maxed out. Maxed out. That one broke free at 231.9. Maxed out. That one broke free at 186.2. 222.5. So we had 3 of them that actually broke free at 231.9, 186.2, and 222.5. The rest of them all maxed the torque wrench out at 250 foot-pounds like we expected. So definitely seems like more fastening torque on the Milwaukee. Exactly how much, not sure yet, but we'll figure that out. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We are going to set the torque on each one of these nuts, each one of these fasteners. We're going to use our torque gun. We're going to do them 2 by 2, if you will. So we're going to go 2 at 150 foot-pounds, 200, 250, 300, 350. So this first round should go up to 350 foot-pounds. We'll start with 150. 150 again. 200. Okay, so you saw we torqued these to 150, 200, 250, 300, and 350 foot-pounds. I'm going to start with the snap-on and see how far we get. 150 foot-pounds. 200. 250. 300. Okay, 350. Took a while, but it got 350 as well. Okay, made it all the way through. Let's go with the Milwaukee. 200. 250. 300, 350. Okay, so both finished that round. Let's roll on and start a second round at 400 foot-pounds. Okay, I just ruined that bolt there. Okay, so now what we've done, we've tightened these to, let's see, before we had 150, 200, 250, 300, 350. So we started here at 400, 400, 450, 500, and 550. This one's stripped at 550, so we've got this one tightened to 550. So let's start with the snap-on. We're still in speed 3 and still have a full battery. So here we go. 400 foot-pounds. Okay, so way longer than I like to let it hit, but I'm going to give it 400. So now we're on to 450. Okay, so no go on 500 foot-pounds. Or at 450. So it got 400, did not take care of 450. So that's where we stop there. Let's go to this Milwaukee. Mode 3. And still got a full battery. Okay, got 400. Now let's go to 450. No problem there. Let's go to 500. No problem there. Let's go to 550. Here's our stripped, and let's see if it'll take that off. Wow. Thought that was broke. Okay, another 550. Okay. So we basically maxed out our fastener capabilities. These things sometimes will torque to 600. Most time they'll gall the threads like I did on this one here. But you see the snap-on did the 400 after a long hit, could not handle the 450, and the Milwaukee went on to do 550 with no problem whatsoever. Let's go wrap this up. Let's go ahead and get a weight on these as well. We forgot to do that during the feature time, so let's roll this in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and, who cares about the bare bones weight, right? Care less about bare tool weight. Going to weigh them with the battery as you would probably buy these. I think both of these are available. Well, we know this one's kitted with a 5 amp hour battery. That's the only way you can buy it. You cannot buy it as a bare tool, not as of yet anyway. You can buy it with one battery or with 2 batteries and the charger. So zeroed out, the snap-on CT-9010, 4 pounds, 14 and a half ounces. So almost 5 pounds, 4, 14 and a half. And the Milwaukee is 5 pounds. So my goodness, within a half of ounce of one another. Yeah, so it's fluctuating between. So 5 pounds, half an ounce. What's that, 4 pounds, 15 and a half ounces, or 14 and a half ounces. So 2 ounces off, basically. So pretty much the same weight on that. Well, very interesting results from the M18 2960 and the snap-on CT-9010. Very impressive, really, by both of them, because snap-on definitely eclipsed its loosening torque numbers, which they claim, 245 foot-pounds of fastening torque and 325 foot-pounds of breakaway or loosening torque. Milwaukee touts 450 foot-pounds of fastening torque and 600 foot-pounds of breakaway or loosening torque. Now, when we measured those, we measured the tightening force at first, and then we did the loosening. But as far as the tightening, we just kind of shared the numbers as we were backing those off with the torque wrench. Now, we know that with the snap-on, we were able to measure that because it takes less force to break a fastener free than it does to tighten it. So we divide by a factor because what we got was an average of 177 foot-pounds. So we take that and we divide by 0.79. Why do we divide by 0.79? Because behind the scenes, before each one of these, we tighten all of those fasteners to 100 foot-pounds. We break them free. We measure how much force it took to do that. Then we tighten them to 200 foot-pounds, break them free. We measure how much force it did to do that. And basically we came up with 0.79 or 79% of the amount of force it took to tighten them is what it took to break it free. All that to say, we divide by 0.79. So we took our 177, divide by 0.79, gives us 225 foot-pounds of fastening torque for the snap-on. Now for the Milwaukee, it should have maxed out our torque wrench on every one of those 10 fasteners. It didn't. On 3 of them, it did not max it out. On the other 7, it did. And I believe the 3 it didn't was like 188, 230 something, and 222 or something like that. So if you average those out, again, we really wouldn't make sense because you're at 250, which how far above that, we don't know. But it's still well beyond 300 foot-pounds would be the average on this. Again, that's a total guesstimation because we don't have the equipment to do that yet. By the way, in a couple of weeks we will have that, but saying we can't measure of whether or not it's hitting that 450 foot-pounds. As far as loosening torque goes, you saw we were able to take our torque gun and tighten from 150 foot-pounds all the way up to 550 before we actually galled the threads on one. Anyway, we took them all the way up to 550. The snap-on was able to break 400 foot-pounds free, and it was barely able to do that. And the only reason we let it hammer that long, because we typically don't we don't like it to hammer more than 10 seconds. At the 10-second mark, we saw that starting to move, so we went ahead and kept our finger on the trigger to make sure that it would back that off, and it did. It was not able to do 450 though, as you saw. Now the Milwaukee, you see it easily kind of surpassed that and went on to 550 and even broke that free rather quickly. And that's as far as we went. Again, our fasteners can handle really only up to 500 foot-pounds, but sometimes we get away with tightening them down to 550. You saw we ruined one of them. But anyway, the Milwaukee easily surpassed that. Now let's talk about price. As I mentioned, I believe earlier, maybe I didn't, the price on the Snap-on is, it cost us to get it here $871. So for a 2 battery and a charger kit, and by the way, you can't get this bare tool. So for the 2 battery, the charger, and the CT-9010, $871. We bought it from the Snap-on store. We could not find it on any of our local Snap-on tool truck drivers, so we did have to order it from their store. So I believe it was like $7.99, and then by the time tax, and I don't believe there was any shipping. Anyway, regardless, it was like almost $900 to actually get it here. Now for the Milwaukee, you can get this for $419 for the tool, 2 batteries, and the charger. Let's talk about warranties. Milwaukee includes a 5-year warranty with their power tools. Snap-on has a 1-year warranty for their power tools. And typically you're having to wait for the tool truck driver to come around and take care of that. Milwaukee, you're going to take it back to Home Depot or online, wherever you got it, and they're going to probably replace that tool for you, or you send it to a service center, they're going to take care of it. So, as far as that goes, price and value, you're definitely getting more strength out of the Milwaukee than you are the Snap-on, as well as power for dollar. You're just definitely getting a lot more value with the Milwaukee as well. It's really your choice. Do they both overperform? Yeah, we think so. We think they hit their marks, if you will, especially for a, quote, mid-torque style of tool. They definitely do a ton of work for you. But head-to-head, we'd have to give the edge to Milwaukee, again, for pure value's sake and for the fact that you're going to get more work done, especially when you're talking about loosening torque, which, let's face it, that's typically where you want those high numbers. Very few things are you tightening to 250, 400 foot-pounds. If you are, typically you've got a 1/2-inch anvil. So you're wanting to break motor parts free, head bolts, crank bolts, things like that. Quite frankly, we're kind of pushing these 3/8 anvils but beyond what I think they should be. But regardless, they're doing tons of work. Check out the Milwaukee 2960 and the Snap-on 9010. Keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Have a great day and keep smiling.